There are numerous areas to consider in constructing a financial plan. Retirement planning, estate planning, investment planning, insurance, tax planning, college and education planning, to name a few. A quick story to start this presentation. James Gandolfini died of a heart attack at the age of 51. His sudden passing shocked and saddened those that had followed his acting career. Gandolfini left his heirs an estimated $70 million. However, because of poor estate planning, his heirs may have potentially owed over $30 million in taxes. Gandolfini didn't take proper steps to ensure that the IRS would not be the main beneficiary to his assets. He also didn't protect his estate from probate. In his will, he left 80% of his estate to his sisters and 9-month-old daughter. This means that 80% of his estate is subject to the estate or death tax. When you leave assets in excess of the estate tax exclusion to your spouse, the money is tax exempt. When you leave these assets to other beneficiaries, they are subject to the estate tax. In Gandolfini's case, the bulk of his estate went to his daughter and his 2 sisters. As a result, Gandolfini's family had to liquidate assets and sell his property to pay the tax bills. Also worth noting is that no one would be debating the details of Gandolfini's estate planning choices if he had not used a will. Before it can take effect, a will has to be filed in probate court. At this point, the will becomes a matter of public record, meaning that anyone can access it. Given that Gandolfini elected to distribute much of his estate through his will, many aspects of his plan became public, thereby opening up his last wishes to critics, friends, family. Unlike wills, trusts do not have to go through probate. With a revocable living trust, you can distribute your property the way you see fit, maintain flexibility and control over your property, and keep your estate plan out of the public spotlight. You create a revocable trust that calls for the disposition of your assets. You still write a will, but the will just says that everything you own goes via the revocable trust. It's called a pour-over will since it pours all assets into the trust, and the trust is private. Gandolfini's faulty estate planning provides a good lesson of the types of complications that can arise for people who rely heavily on a will and who don't engage in well-thought-out estate planning. One of the primary goals of estate planning, in addition to minimizing estate taxes, is to give their surviving family members and beneficiaries some privacy. There are numerous common mistakes in the area of estate planning. One common mistake is using too much or not enough life insurance. This includes both for individuals and small businesses. Term insurance can be used to meet temporary needs, such as covering children's education or mortgage payments, whereas permanent life insurance can help meet permanent needs, such as legacy and estate planning. For small business owners, when 2 or 3 partners are involved, a cross-purchase plan can be used where each business owner buys a life insurance policy on the other partners. When 3 or more partners are involved, an entity-type plan can be used where the partnership or entity purchases insurance policies on the partners. Key person life insurance can also be used by small business owners to protect the business from financial loss sustained when a key employee dies. The face amount of the policy generally relates to the amount of lost income to the business, plus the cost of hiring and training a replacement for the deceased person. Disability insurance and business overhead insurance are other insurance strategies that could be used by small business owners. Not using an advanced healthcare directive or power of attorney is another common mistake in financial planning. An advanced healthcare directive, also known as living will, is a legal document in which a person specifies what action should be taken for their health if they're no longer able to make the decisions for themselves because of illness or incapacity. A power of attorney is an essential estate planning document, but you and your agents need to know its limits and how to maximize its benefits. In a power of attorney, the principal names 1 or more agents to act on the principal's behalf. You need a power of attorney because someone needs to manage your assets, pay bills, and make decisions if you become incapacitated. Leaving assets outright to adult children could be another common mistake in financial planning. People understand why minor children and young adults shouldn't inherit property outright. Someone with more maturity and experience needs to manage the assets and make spending decisions. That's why for minors and young adults, inheritances routinely are left in trusts, at least until the minors are older. In the instance of Gandolfini, his will called for his daughter to receive significant assets at the age of 21. Too often, however, people overlook the benefits of leaving assets in trust for adult children instead of having them inherit the property outright. There are risks to leaving wealth outright, even to grown children, and benefits of using inheritance trusts to hold bequests for them. Reaching a particular age doesn't mean someone is financially sophisticated. As the value of an inheritance increases, so does the level of financial acumen needed to manage it. The adult child could hire a money manager or financial advisor to manage the wealth inherited outright, but someone who isn't sophisticated enough to manage the money might not make a good choice at a financial advisor. It's important to make an assessment of the ability of each of your children to manage property, and then to decide whether to leave the bequest outright or in trust. You can set rules for distributions from trusts. A trust also protects your wealth from the creditors of the children. If asset and creditor protection is a goal, you might also want the trust to be located in a state with stronger protection. Also, when you leave an inheritance outright to an adult child, the spouse of your offspring often can claim a share of the assets in a divorce or separation. But when you leave the bequest in a trust, this issue may be resolved. Children's inheritances don't have to be turned over to them when they reach 18 or 21. You can design a trust that provides for funds to be released incrementally as a child progresses into adulthood or as a child attains educational or other goals. Estate liquidity problems often pose issues as well. Insurance can be used as a way to create liquidity, but you should be mindful of removing life insurance from an estate, as this can decrease the size of the estate and potential taxation. Invalid, out-of-date, or poorly drafted wills is another common example, as noted in the Gandolfini story earlier. Overlooking guardianship for minors and overqualifying or underqualifying an estate are also common mistakes. Overqualifying or underqualifying an estate involves using too much or not enough marital deduction at the first decedent spouse's death. This can result in additional future taxes. There are several common mistakes in the area of investment planning that I want to highlight as well. One common mistake might be holding on to underperforming investments because you've had them a long time and became attached emotionally. Tax loss harvesting can be used as one means to help address this problem. Not regularly contributing to tax-efficient accounts is another common mistake in investment planning. Increasing contribution to retirement accounts, including 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, SEP IRAs, spousal IRAs for spouses not in the workforce, backdoor Roth IRAs, can all be important strategies. Contributing to accounts to manage medical expenses, including health savings accounts or flexible spending accounts, can also be important strategies that shouldn't be overlooked. Contributions to these accounts go in tax-free and also come out tax-free. Dependent care accounts and 529 education savings accounts are also both tax-efficient accounts that should not be overlooked. My wife and I funded a 529 education savings account for both our children and have been very pleased with it. Not maximizing charitable contribution deductions when contributing to charitable causes can also be a big issue with respect to investment planning. When selecting assets to contribute, it's important to look at highly appreciated assets, as this can reduce your tax bill and increase your deduction. Emotional reactions to short-term market movements is another common mistake in investment planning. Dalbar, a leading national financial services market research firm based in Boston, looked at the effects of market timing for the last 20 years, the period from 2001 through 2020, and concluded that the average investor return over this period was less than half that of the return of stocks. Dalbar cited market timing as a main factor of underperformance. This chart depicts Dalbar's study and shows how the average investor has significantly underperformed various asset classes due to poor market timing. There are several steps, according to the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards, in creating a financial plan. Step one involves determining your financial situation. In this step, qualitative information such as health, family circumstances, expectations, risk tolerance, goals are all looked at. In addition, quantitative information, including age, number of dependents, assets and liabilities, estate plans, insurance, taxes, are also looked at. In step two, you develop your financial goals. When creating goals, you'll want to consider objectives such as college and education investments, caring for family members, retirement needs, as well as lifestyle goals. In this example, you could see the near-term goal might be buy a vacation house and use it as a rental property. Medium-term goal, college education. Long-term goal, retirement at a certain age, caring for family members. Steps 3 and 4 involve identifying alternative courses of action and evaluating these scenarios in the planning process. A financial plan represents an opportunity to reassess your financial situation while also thinking about future milestones. When evaluating alternative courses of action, you might look at the situation, for example, of a portfolio that's overly concentrated in growth stocks. The recommended action would be to change the asset allocation and add value stocks. The outcome would be improving diversification of the portfolio and improving the risk-reward profile. Evaluating alternative courses of action can help in other situations as well. For example, if you're 15 to 20 years until retirement, but your retirement accounts hold significant cash, investing that cash in high-quality equities would be a recommended action. The outcome could be at a 7% annualized return, 176% to 287% of appreciation. If you have a situation where there are large capital gains, taxes from investment turnover, using tax-efficient vehicles to reduce taxes would be a recommended action, and the outcome would be maintaining market exposure with minimal taxes. If you have a portfolio with a concentration in bonds or fixed income, selling select bonds and investing in equities due to inflation concerns could be a prudent strategy. This would reduce portfolio interest rate risk and also help you hedge against inflation. If a portfolio has become concentrated in stock positions, scaling out over several years and using tax loss harvesting could be a good strategy to improve diversification and reduce risk. A good wealth advisor can increase your returns by as much as 3% yearly, according to Vanguard. This would represent a 34.3% increase in investment returns over 10 years and an 80.6% increase in investment returns over 20 years after compounding. Developing a financial plan may also help you stay on course with your family's long-term strategy. It's important to review your plan annually when changes occur. Changes might include marriage or divorce, birth or adoption, death of a spouse or partner, change in beneficiaries, and down this list. Step 6 involves reviewing and revising your financial plan. The first step in this would be to determine the horizon and risk tolerance, review of asset allocation, researching holdings, investment recommendations and changes, rebalancing and tax management, and then ongoing review and monitoring. Selecting the correct risk profile is an extremely important aspect for your plan. In this pictorial, you could see a more aggressive risk profile is going to include a very high concentration of equities exposure and a lower concentration of fixed income exposure. Whereas a more conservative strategy is going to include a higher concentration of fixed income exposure and a lower concentration of equity exposure. It's important to understand the risks and rewards associated with each of these profiles. Managing risk with the correct investments in a financial plan is also extremely important. Conservative strategies will offer greater safety of principal, whereas aggressive strategies will offer greater potential returns. It's important to analyze investments to meet plan goals. Asset allocation and diversification involves the composition of fixed income and equity categories and developing a portfolio that can perform in the long term under a wide range of circumstances. Tax efficiency involves investment turnover in individual stocks or mutual funds and can lead to short-term and long-term capital gains taxes. Mutual funds may have significant embedded gains, and based on the mutual fund structure in some instances, you could pay taxes for economic gains you never realized based on the timing of your purchase. Risk reward involves understanding valuation and return potential. There are many good businesses to invest in, but if their stocks are priced too high, they might not make for good investments. Cost effectiveness involves the fees and costs that are involved with an investment strategy or category of investment. Using compounding returns to your advantage can be an important part of your financial plan. In this example, you could see the differential on the bottom between a couple percentage points annualized returns over the course of a couple decades. Compounding returns definitely add up. Life insurance can be used as a way to manage risk in your financial plan. Term life insurance helps meet temporary needs, such as covering children's education or mortgage payments. Permanent life insurance helps meet permanent needs, such as legacy and estate planning. Term life insurance is a more simple form of insurance, whereas permanent is more complex. Term life insurance has lower premiums versus permanent, which requires higher premiums. In term life insurance, the death benefit expires, whereas in permanent life insurance, the death benefit does not expire. I hope you found this presentation helpful. Please contact me if you have any follow-up questions. Thank you very much.